Is this what I want to be doing right now? Yeah, no, I need to film videos. Okay. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lindy Jung. I am a science fiction and fantasy writer, and I'm back to, filming videos, pre-recording them so that I have something to upload while I'm out of the country. Today I wanted to actually give a little bit of advice on something that I'm not terribly experienced in, but that I've been thinking about a lot. So, more unsolicited advice. As per usual, this is not meant to be taken in any sort of prescriptive manner. It's very tongue-in-cheek and also, just based off of things that I don't really know what this is. I majored in zoology, okay? If you're coming to me for professional advice, don't. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about writing romance arcs, because I feel like it's something that everyone at this point, if you're writing genre fiction, especially if you're writing young adult, etc., has to sort of try. But not everyone can pull off, and I feel like when you don't pull off a romance arc well, it can really mess up your book. So it's something that is so crucial for a lot of readers, especially when it comes to popular literature, and yet can so easily just mess you up. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I have noticed and what I think works personally and what I have tried to implement in my own writing, even though honestly, I'm a real big fan of the slow burn. So a lot of both books that I've put out on Sub did not have actually no, the second one did have a romance arc. Honestly, I don't have a ton of experience writing these romance arcs, so who knows if I'm even good at this, basically. But I think I do have an eye for what things do tend to not work at the very least. So I wanted to talk a little bit about just tips that I had in mind for people who want to beef up their romance arcs. Because you know what, at the end of the day, I am a Libra, so romance is my life. This is going to be a numbered list because I don't know how to organize things any other way, so let's go ahead and get started. Number 1 is to consider the characters as individuals first and figure out their respective arcs before mashing them together. I think the most crucial element that I see missing in a lot of sort of romance arcs that I've been reading or noticing in books lately is that the characters clearly exist to be in a relationship with each other. Either one or both of them is just not complete without the other one. And yeah, you complete me is a nice line, but you want these characters to be able to stand on their own. You want them to feel like fleshed out people, both of them, so that you can actually, as a reader, root for them to get together. Because real people have obstacles when it comes to dating, love, romance, whatever. Real people have things that get in their way. If someone exists just to be a partner to this other character, they're not going to have the same obstacles. Anything is going to feel flimsy, or the obstacles are going to be very one-sided on the half of the character who may or may not be a fleshed out person. There's just so many reasons why you want both characters to feel developed, besides just wanting them to feel like real people that you can root for. In a similar vein, I think it's also important to give them histories. First loves are nice, and it's maybe more realistic in young adult, but if you have full-on adults in these relationships, then they probably have exes and heartbreaks and things that didn't work out, misconnections, and you want to acknowledge that because that very much does influence people's relationships in real life. Again, it's another way to sort of give them some dimension, give them reasons that, yeah, maybe they shouldn't realistically work out, but they will, and that's the thing that they overcome to get together. I think basically what it comes down to is I notice a lot of these love interests in genre fiction, all sorts of fiction. It's across the board. It can happen to anyone, where this love interest is a blank slate. Tabula rasa, just doesn't have anything going on in their life outside of this partnership, doesn't have anything interesting about them, doesn't have any history. They feel just so paper thin, and it's really hard to care even if they are written as super physically hot. Number 2 is to ask yourself the obvious question that I think a lot of people might not really consider sometimes, especially if, in the case of many of these, it seems like they were maybe pushed into throwing in a romance. I know that a lot of the time, people don't actually want to write this romance. They don't care about it as much as the rest of the story, and I think that's totally understandable. I was that way, which is why I straight up just didn't write romance arcs for a really long time. The thing is, though, you want to do the bare minimum, and so the bare minimum is asking why these two people actually like each other, or why they're drawn to each other. It could be a love at first sight situation, it can be, falling in love gradually, but what makes them fall in love? There's always something. It's not just physical. It's not just because of their I don't know what people are into, honestly. But you know how like a lot of heterosexual media, that's what I'll call it, just sticks two people together because they're pretty and stand next to each other sometimes. There's got to be something tying people together, drawing them to each other, even if they can't fully articulate it, even if it's something that they have to discover with time, even if they hate each other at first, like what draws that emotion out from them. I think that is another thing, actually, just to go on a tangent. With a lot of these like trendy enemies to lovers romances, there's no reason for them to not like each other, really. I just want to see more meat to it. I want to see internal reasoning, I want to see irrationality, I want to see all these like emotional things that make people nuts about each other. Number 3 is, what is the conflict that's keeping them apart? A lot of romance arcs, you know, it's totally fine to have something normal, like if it's not the main plot, then they're just gonna date and like fall in love and get together at some point, but there should always be some sort of conflict. I feel like if there's a plot device, I mean, I don't know, personally I've never had any sort of dating situation where there wasn't a conflict. I think that says more about me than it does about writing. You want the relationship to grow under some sort of adversity, because that is just going to get the reader so much more invested. That's going to allow for those like sweet moments of yearning if you're doing a whole, you know, subplot, romance arc, whatever. And it can be something about their individual personalities or their life paths or whatever, or the story itself, the plot, the actual main conflict, or the world. Like something is keeping them apart. Personally, and this, you know, is personal taste, I just love it when like just so much shit gets in the way of two people who just really want to be together. Like they are obviously, you know, perfect for each other, they match each other in all the right ways, but just the world or their parents or whatever, it's just, it's, you know, it's making it forbidden. When under normal circumstances it wouldn't be. It would be the most obvious logical choice in the world. And this is like such an opportunity for them to overcome things, to overcome these obstacles, to find that inner strength for each other's sake, you know, like show that they have these impossible things to get over, but their love is strong enough that they will spit in the face of God and like move mountains for the other person. Like that's romantic as hell. Number 4 is, consider how they complete each other. So this is more on a personality sort of level. Yeah, it's just opposites tend to attract in certain ways. For example, I'm an extrovert, I think. I don't know if that's even a real category of person at this point because of COVID, but I am theoretically an extrovert. But I primarily surround myself with introverts. Like my friends, my entire family, introverted. The people I date tend to be introverted. It's like, I like being balanced by a calmer presence. And I like someone who not like reels me back but or keeps me in check, but just sort of reminds me that like it's time to go. You can't stay out until 4 a.m. You're too old and you will die of dehydration. Let's go home. Like that sort of calming energy that it's just good for me, basically. In a similar vein, if you're writing a romance arc with two characters that are very outwardly different, you can play off of how they're similar internally as well, so that they're foils. One thing I was thinking about was like if you have a character who is just vilified and another one who is put on a pedestal as like the hero of the town, whatever, and then you get them to connect because they're actually both really lonely. I think stuff like that just works really well to play off of each other's differences and similarities, like how they connect, how they mesh, how they complete each other. Number 5 is to consider different types of attraction. I think a lot of the time, yeah, we're a very, you know, visually based sort of species. A lot of the time, the first thing you're gonna see in a description of a love interest is their physical characteristics, and that is totally fine. People are hot. It's great. You want your love interest to be hot, that's great. Personally, I like it when my love interests are scrungly, but I don't know, that's just me. But considering different forms of attraction, I did actually a video a while back with my friend Ming that talks about how the aro ace spectrum plays into their writing and how they approach romance arcs. And I'm, you know, an allosexual person, so it's a little bit different for me, but I think it is important to consider that perspective, not necessarily to write your characters as aro ace, but to think about what draws people together, again, beyond the physical. And you want to think about what your main character, your point of view character, and the love interest are attracted to in each other. Like, there are things when you date someone in real life that you're just like, I don't know why, but this drives me wild. And it's like, it doesn't always make sense, but if you take that into play, I think it can be really fun and can really make this feel like a more well-rounded and realistic depiction of a relationship. Another thing to consider here are the 5 love languages. I think, oh god, I don't know of them off the top of my head, but like physical touch, gift giving, I like how I named mine first, acts of service, Words of affirmation, quality time. I did it. Those are different ways that, you know, if you get those fulfilled by your partner, you're going to be more appreciative of that. And people have different love languages, and just sort of like considering how those play into each other, how that's going to affect how they behave, and how the other person might feel attracted to the things that that other person, their partner, does to complete those needs. Number 6 is to consider what their lives will look like after they get together. I think this is another thing that tends to be sort of left to the wayside. You think about the conflict that gets involved in the arc and like how they get together, and the story tends to end with like that first kiss or that first night. I don't know. You know, like there are definite endpoints where like you kind of stop caring as much. This happens to me when people get together in like a show I'm watching, a long-running show, and all the tension and drama is like gone and they're domestic. I kind of don't give a fuck anymore. But I think it's important to consider when you're writing, even if you don't get to that point where you're showing those day-to-day, like their day-to-day life on the page. Think about what future they want. Like, what do they have that they're working toward fighting for outside of just this mutual attraction? What are they building towards? What do they need out of each other at this point? What sacrifices are they going to end up making? What does their idea of a happy ending look like? Is it the white picket fence? Is it traveling the world together? Is it like having a dog and owning a cafe? Just think about what that would look like, because then that is something that they could lose out on, you know? Think about what the happy ending looks like beyond the last couple of words on the page. Number 7 is consider how the two individual people view each other. There's often a huge disconnect in this. I think especially when you think about the stages that a relationship hits, like the first 6-ish months are the honeymoon phase, and that's when you're really infatuated with each other. Like after that, what do they see each other as? How do they view each other? I feel like a lot of the time we tend to get pretty delusional about our partners, especially when it's early on or when that like courtship phase. So I think it's important to not just depict the like point of view character's view of that person, but to also think about what they actually are like. I'm presenting this in as neutral a fashion as possible because I think there is definitely a way to make this super romantic, because you know, you think about characters that are vilified by society or kind of like are outcasted, and then you think about how their partner views them as like perfect, not perfect, but just amazing, incredible, and like how that like being viewed a certain way by even just one person can just totally transform your life and your concept of yourself. I think that's really important for certain characters' journeys as well. Number 8 is don't forget the sizzle. I miss when stories had genuine like tension and sizzle and spark and like not just tropes. I'm sorry to say it, but I just like to see it when characters who are, you know, romantically linked are put into situations that are like uncomfortable, vulnerable, where they have to like bare their soul to the other person for the first time, or when they're like forced into proximity, not in like a one bed way. I kind of am sick of that. The one trope that I do really tend to like is like a hurt comfort scene, like a patching the wounds sort of vulnerable moment that always, you know, like feels really authentic, especially if there's proper build up to it, and it can just reveal a lot. There's just so much that you can do, so many situations you can put your characters in to like force this sort of vulnerability out of them. Number 9 is consider how the characters behave around each other versus how they behave around other people. I think this is a ton of fun. It's a great way to show contrast, to sort of show without telling that maybe this person who is like super mean and sarcastic and kind of like closed off around others is like goofy around the person they like. You know, it's hinting that this is someone that they like, that's someone that they can sort of be themselves around. It's a great way to show, I feel like a very effective way to show rather than tell that there's something else going on under the surface. That is another thing that I will point out just right here, is that it's very trite, I think, to lay out someone's feelings for another person on the table in your writing. I think it's really actually aggravating, because I think so much of what makes a romance intriguing is the subtext. It is the like hidden meanings, the stolen glances. It's like the layers of it that you have to unravel, and you have to sort of like know before they even know that something is going on here. And I think that is the key to making a romance arc successful in the sense that like readers actually care about it and like want them to get together. But that's just, you know, my opinion as like a slow burn fan. So okay, Number 10 is more focus on build-up. Again, slow burn bias, but I think depending on, whether the focus of your romance arc is like physical, emotional, etc., just building up those moments over the course of the subplot slash plot, culminating in that big like confession or kiss or whatever. If it's physical, starts with like small touches, like the Pride and Prejudice hand thing. Maybe it leads up to a hug. This sounds like middle school shit, but I swear to God, like building it up over the course, like building up the level of intensity over the course of the story is so good, and it just makes it so much more engaging because you're waiting for that next like beat to hit, And there's like this sense of the dam can only hold it back for so long. That's what makes it good, because it's like these little leaks that lead up to that big just sort of like bursting of the dam. That was more sexual than I intended it to be. The same goes with emotional growth. It's like a little bit of vulnerability followed by like a bigger moment and then a bigger moment. Like it culminates in that big drawn out, like not drawn out, but long, I don't know, that big dramatic confession at the end, right? And again, you're going to consider individual characterization here. You're going to think about how people sort of like open up over time and your experience with that, if you have personal experience with that. Okay, that is it. Those are my thoughts on writing romance arcs. I hope that this was entertaining, if not slightly helpful. It's definitely stuff that I've been considering now that I'm moving more into feeling more comfortable basically writing these like romantic subplots. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off for now, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching.